Oh, hold on. Ugh, diapers. Drawer. Let's do this. Hey guys, it's Jordan Page from funcheaperfree.com. Today we're going to talk about extracurricular activities and sports for your kids and how much you should pay for them, because let's be honest, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Ugh. A little background on me. I am the mother of 6 children. That's right, 6. Ugh, that's a lot of kids. And in our family, we love being home, but we also love being involved. I get a lot of questions about how we decide what activities our kids are in, how many they should be in, how we afford and budget for those activities. So I'm just gonna sit down and wing this with no notes and just see if I can do my best to eloquently explain how we do it in our family, and also to help you find that balance between like allowing your kids to do activities and still staying within your budget and not driving yourself too crazy. Should we do it? Let's just do it. Let's get on with it. Where do I even begin? What? Tip number 1 is to set boundaries and restrictions, and then to find things that fit within those and not try to make your boundaries and restrictions fit for the things that you find. Let me give you some examples. So in our family, we have decided that we do not want to do any sports on Sundays. For religious reasons and family reasons, we feel like we just want one day a week and we don't have anywhere to be other than home and church. And with that boundary, decisions have to be made. For example, there are certain competitive leagues that my son wanted to do, like baseball or football, that had games on Sundays. We just didn't sign up for those and we found something else instead. Or there are times like my daughter, she's in dance, and we went to a competition or a convention. What was I saying? One of the convention days, which is basically a day of a bunch of classes, was on Sunday. So our compromise was we went to the competition, she competed on Saturday with the rest of her team, she did as many convention classes as she could on Saturday, but then we opted out of Sunday. And we did lose that money, and that was a bummer, but it's okay because we made the decision beforehand. Another boundary that we have set that we've been able to live by for the most part so far is that we do not like sports on Friday nights or Saturdays. Sometimes things pop up that are occasional, but my daughter wanted to do cheerleading, and at the gym that we really would have wanted to go at, their practice was every Friday night from like 5 to 7:30. That's quite possibly the worst time ever for our family, because we treasure Friday nights and Saturday nights because it's either family date night or date night for mom and dad, or we're out of town or traveling or whatever, and we just didn't want to be locked down by sports. Also, when we signed my son up for soccer, it was just a city league soccer, and in our city, all the games would have been on Saturdays. But like I said, we really treasure Saturdays as much as we can. It's our working day, it's our family day. So instead of signing up for our city, we signed up for the next city over, which had games on Wednesday nights. Along with those boundaries are budget boundaries. And this is really, really hard because I'm gonna be honest, activities, extracurriculars get really, really expensive. So if you're not careful, it really creeps up on you. So a few of the things that we do to make sure we're on budget is we get all the information we can ahead of time. What all the fees are, what equipment is needed for the sport, and make sure we know what we're getting ourselves into. One way that I try to save money is that whenever I can, I pay in full up front. And by doing so, especially for something that's at a studio like dance, recital fees and costume fees and whatever at the beginning, by doing that, usually the studio will give you a discount. As kids get older or as they become more advanced in sports, it can get really expensive. So you just need to decide what you can afford. How do you know what sports you can afford? Simply put, you gotta go back to my 70% rule. This is a principle I teach in my budget bootcamp program, which is budgetbootcamp.com. And if you use the code YouTube, you can get 10% off. It's one of my most basic principles. I do have information and a video and a blog post about it. I will link below. But essentially, your paycheck that you get and you deposit into the bank. My battery died. Ugh. After taxes, after your 401k or health insurance or whatever else is taken out of your paycheck, that's the paycheck I'm talking about. You should never spend more than 70% of that paycheck. But do the math. If you are spending 80, 85, 90, 100% of your paycheck, you'll be living too tight. And that's when people have to live off of credit cards or take out debt. I explain it all below. Just go watch. There's a lot more to it than what I just said. So of your paycheck, you've got 70% of that you can spend on whatever you want. But that includes your mortgage, your bills, your utilities, your grocery bill, your medical bills, your debt payments. Everything you spend money on needs to fit within that 70%. So obviously, when you're figuring out what you can afford, you take that 70%, start with the necessities. So you take out your mortgage or your rent, what you normally spend on utilities and bills and gasoline, take out money that you need for groceries, and you go down and you see what's left after all the necessities are taken care of. That's what you have to spend. But are you gonna spend that on eating out or shopping or vacation or a new couch or whatever? Or are you gonna spend it on your kids' activities? Those are choices you have to make. But the money has to come from somewhere. I wish money grew on trees, but it just doesn't. That's how you decide what you can afford. So do the math first before you sign your kids up for activities. You gotta set those boundaries. And then you make some tough decisions. So let's say your kid wants to play baseball, but let's say you really can only afford $100 a season per kid. Okay, well guess what? City League baseball is only $45 here in Utah for the entire season. And we bought his cleats secondhand at Savers down the street. They were in great condition. We got his other equipment at Played Against Sports, whereas we could have done a competitive baseball league that sure, maybe some of his buddies were doing it, or maybe it's just more cool, I don't know. But it's like $1,200 for the season. You just have to make those choices. Don't feel like you have to pay for everything yourself. If the sport that your child is really interested in doesn't fit within that 70% and within that activities budget that you've set, get creative. There are team fundraisers that you can participate in doing. Tell your kids to go get a job and go help. Or maybe you compromise and meet in the middle. My parents would say things like, okay, we will pay for your monthly fees and your competition fee, but if you want new basketball shoes or the optional warm-up outfit or the cool backpack or whatever, you have to pay for that. We make our kids pay for things that they lose. So Hutch, he's only 9. But he has to have these super specific trampoline shoes. He can't compete without them. And they're not cheap. They're just like these little socks and they're like 35 or 40 bucks. Wouldn't you know, he lost 1 foot. Great. I bought the first pair, but he had to buy the second pair after losing them. And he really wanted a team backpack, like so badly, but they were like 45 bucks. But if you want the backpack, you can pay for it. And he said, I don't want to pay $45. We're like, okay, well then we've got some backpacks at home you can use. But then we got creative and we asked the gym if they had any discounted backpacks. Lo and behold, there's a backpack that has the name Gavin on it that they printed on accident, and they sold us the backpack for $5 and just put a black patch over it to cover, and you know what, it's fine, good as new, and that was a really good compromise for us. Also with boundaries, you need to decide their future. Now, what I mean is work backwards a little bit. Some people feel the need really early on to put their kids into ultra competitive, super intense sports really early because maybe they show promise or they love it or whatever, and I get that. But let me give you an example of how we had to pivot from that mindset. So my daughter Priya, she's pretty incredible. She was in this little toddler tumbling class that we were doing just for fun, and the teacher was like, you know what, she's pretty coordinated. You may want to consider putting her into like real gymnastics. She was 4 at the time. So we put her in at a tumbling studio. What do you know? Within a few weeks, she had her back handspring. A few weeks later, she had 2 back handsprings. Within a few months, she was doing 22 back handsprings in a row at 5 years old. So she was a very good tumbler. After a while, we felt like she outgrew this tumbling gym, and so we wanted to try all around gymnastics. What we didn't do is think about the commitment before we put her in there. In a few years, when she gets to level such and such, are we willing to have her be at gymnastics for 5 or 6 hours a day, 6 days a week? Are we willing to pay however many hundreds or maybe even thousands per month? Are we willing for this to be her only sport? It wasn't until we had been in there for a few months and realized the grandeur of this decision in the long run that we realized, as good as she is and as much as she loves it, we had set the boundaries for our families, budget-wise, hours-wise, days of the week-wise, and it was breaking all those boundaries. So as hard as it was to pull her and to quit, and as sad as she was, it just wasn't a fit in the long run. So instead, we decided to put her in tramp and tumbling. There's floor, but there's trampoline, and then something called double mini that's really cool. It's like this little mini trampoline that you do like, woo, shoes on. It's cool, you should check it out. That to us was the perfect blend because it was advanced tumbling. There's competitions if she wants them. If she really wanted to, she could go to the Olympics for it someday, but she's only going 5 hours a week instead of 20 or 30 hours a week. Much more affordable, way more flexible. All of the things fit our family much better. Interestingly, while Priya was there doing tumbling, my son wanted to try it. His coaches saw that he was really working hard and was improving quickly. And so now he has actually advanced to the point where he's on a competitive track and is now on the boys tramp and tumbling team. And we went to the state competition and both my babies are state champion tumblers. Knock me over with a feather, who would have thought? Another boundary that you would need to set and decide is how many activities do you want your kids to be in at one time? We feel like our kids can manage 2 activities at once depending upon the activity. For example, our 6-year-old Beck, he is young enough that he's still just doing city league stuff. And in the winter, we had him in little winter basketball with the city, but then at the same time, he was doing this cute little cooking class that he really wanted to do that was only 1 hour once a week. And we felt like the basketball and the cooking was totally manageable. My son, Hutch, he is a very good student and he stays on top of his homework, his grades are good. So he's in competitive tumbling and he is also doing baseball at the same time. And even though it's a busy schedule for him, we are letting him do both of those activities at once. Now my little daughter, Maury, she is 2, almost 3, and she wanted to do dance class like her sisters more than anything. So we put her in dance. 1 dance class once a week seems totally fitting for her at her age, and it's convenient because it's the same studio where my other daughters dance, so easy peasy. In the past, we have found it really important for our kids to be involved in music. We really want our kids to learn an instrument and to learn how to sing, different things like that. But we found that when our kids were doing 1 or even 2 sports or a sport and an activity, plus music, plus school, plus friends, it was just too much. This year, I had a baby. It was a lot. So one of the sacrifices we decided this year was we cut out music lessons. But that doesn't mean that our kids are not learning music. We subscribe to music learning apps. I will link them below, but it's $10 a month per kid. So you do have to pay, but it's better than like $30 a lesson for a 30-minute lesson. It gamifies piano lessons. So my son especially, who loves piano, his sight reading has gotten better, his chords have gotten better, his ability to play music is just better, and he begs us to play it because it's fun and it gamifies it. And so he practices the piano every single day, but we've been able to cut out those expensive lessons, time-consuming lessons that were really becoming more of a burden for us than a blessing. So boundaries is a really big part of it. Another big part of it is considering your lifestyle and your convenience. So a few tips I have for that are carpool. Carpool, carpool, carpool will save your life. I've got 6 kids and one of them is a baby. It is a lot of work getting those kids in and out of those car seats 20 times a day. So a lot of the activities we choose out of convenience while still respecting the boundaries that we've set. I will send a group text out to all my friends. Hey, are any of you guys doing kindergarten spring soccer? Do you guys want to sign up together? And hey, should we carpool? It's great because then you're only driving maybe 1 out of every 2 or 3 times. If you don't know anyone doing it with you, go watch the practices, go watch the games and strike up conversations with the parents, find out where they live, maybe encourage a group text for that team. We love the app GroupMe. And hey, can someone give my son a ride home from practice? I'll drive next time. It's great. We also just try to lump our kids and activities together. For example, right now we have 4 of our kids doing competitive tumbling or just a little exercise tumbling class. All of them go to the same gym and we try to get as many of them at the exact same time as possible. So I'm only going once or maybe twice a week instead of 4 different times. Another thing we do is lump activities on the same day. Wednesday is our craziest day of the whole week because pretty much all of our activities fall on Wednesday. And it's okay, I do that on purpose. It's already like a leftovers or a crock pot day. It's our crazy day and I know it and I plan for it, but then it leaves a lot more open space and breathable space on other days during the week. Okay, and then the last thing you need to consider is commitment. I kind of touched on this in the boundaries section where you really need to know what you're getting yourself into. But a lot of people have asked me, well, what do you do if you sign your kid up and you pay all this money, you invest in this, but then they start complaining or they say they don't want to do it anymore? Are they just being a kid? Are they just complaining? Do I push for them to keep going, or do I let them quit? What do I do? Now, this is part of being a parent. It's very hard, and a lot of times you just have to really go with your gut. Our philosophy is we do a lot of research before we sign up, but then once we sign up, we're committed. And in the Page family, we don't bail on commitments. Things come up. Maybe we have to miss something, a practice or a game here or there because of a vacation or something, and that's okay. But in general, if we sign up to be on a team, our team is counting on us and we finish out the season. And then we just know that next year we won't go with that sport or that coach or that gym or studio or whatever. And this is hard because sometimes it leads to some complaining, but in our house, the Pages don't bail. We stick to our commitments. The exception to this, of course, is please consider your children's physical and mental health. My daughter was in a situation once where she was at a gym that really just became kind of toxic for her. It was hurting her self-esteem. She was getting some anxiety. Also, she started having knee and back problems at 6 years old. Oh, heck no. So those were some red flags for me that this gym, for whatever reason, their technique or lack thereof was hurting my child physically, but also their coaching style was hurting her mentally and emotionally. So we stopped. We took a break, we got her mentally healthy and physically healthy, and a few months later we found a new gym that still fit within our boundaries, and we've been there ever since because we absolutely love it, and it's been a night and day difference. So your kids need to come first. If they're suffering in school, if their grades are suffering, parents, come on. It's really fun to live vicariously through our kids, and there is no better feeling in the whole world than when they do awesome at something. But I just have to stress that there's no activity, no award, no medal or trophy that can replace your relationship with your child and your child's physical or mental health. So just really try to remain in tune as a parent and try your best to encourage them and push them to work hard, but to watch for those red flags that could end up being detrimental for your child. There you go, you guys. I don't know if that was helpful or not, but I've just been having so many questions about it that I really hope that just gave you an insight onto some of our mindsets. Will you guys let me know how you do things down in the comments below? Please subscribe. We've got videos on Thursdays. All right. In fact, I actually got to go pick up my daughter from tumbling right now, so I'm gonna let you guys go. Hope you have a good day. Bye. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. 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 I love you.